CLNS Media, Patriots Roundtable. I'm your host, Nick Quaglia, sitting here with my co-host, Marvizon and Mike Molyneux. And we got the Super Bowl this weekend, but we're not exactly going to talk about the Super Bowl here in this first topic. We're going to talk about a quarterback who was the quarterback other than, I'd say, Deshaun Watson that I wanted the Patriots to go after, because I think he's a very good quarterback, very talented, in Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford obviously traded for almost everything, including Sean McVay's first child, to the Rams. Jared Goff headed to Detroit, and the news came out that Matt Stafford didn't want to come to New England. New England was on his no, do not trade me there list. So, I mean, guys, that's the question. Why did Matt Stafford not want to come to the Patriots? And is this signifying a future problem with free agents and trade targets here for the future for the Patriots, at least in the very near future? Marv, what do you think?
What timing for this news to come out? Probably like the day after we do our free agency show, and I'm over here like, oh no, teams will come in once we get a quarterback. Or what? And then here comes Stafford saying, not only did he say he doesn't want to come to the Patriots, that was the only team he said he do not trade me to. Whatever you guys do, you guys can send me to, I don't even care, Miami Dolphins, Raiders, just do not. Whatever you do, send me to the Patriots. And as a Patriots fan, someone who's been supporting the Patriots for a lot of years, it was kind of like a slap in the face. Like, what the hell, dude? F you. Especially for someone when you're thinking Stafford would be an amazing fit for the New England Patriots. You get
put
a guy
in perspective like this, too. Sorry to cut you off, but put it in perspective like this, too. That means he would have rather gotten traded to the Jets than the Patriots.
That's a better example. I was just thinking of teams on top of my head. But yeah, he would have rather played for the Jets. So what is the reason? What is the deep hate does he have for the New England Patriots? It's not like we play them a lot or anything like that. Then you start thinking about it. Who's his wide receiver over there? He's got Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, Danny Amendola. Danny didn't leave in the greatest terms with New England. He's pretty good friends with Matthew Stafford, so he's probably over there mother effing the Patriots a lot down there in Detroit, especially Bill Belichick. And if we all remember Danny Amendola, every single year his money just started to get lower and lower and lower until there was like, all right, you can go. And then, we remember the Gronk Instagram post, be free, be happy, and whatnot. And so we know the relationship is not great with Danny Amendola. And then
look what he said on ESPN this week.
What did he say on ESPN? I know people were talking about it, but
Danny Amendola went on. I'll try to get the exact quote while you guys are talking. But Danny Amendola went on ESPN and kind of trashed the Patriots a little bit. He is not exactly. He's not a fan.
He's not
of the Patriots right now.
That's not news story. He's not a fan of the New England Patriots. So that's one thing over there. And then another is, when you think of Matthew Stafford, you've always thought of him as an above average quarterback, a really good quarterback. The past couple years, though, not really. You don't hear Matthew Stafford's name up there like that as top quarterbacks. Is that coincidental that in the past few years his head coach was Matt Patricia? Patricia coming in, he's not the, offensive juggernaut of a coach. He was the offensive-minded coach, but now you're the head coach, and the offense for the Detroit Lions sucked. It was putrid. Stafford did the best he could with Golladay and Marvin Jones, but they couldn't get anything going. And now we know that Matt Patricia gets fired, gets sent back to New England. Why would Matthew Stafford be like, let me go link back up with Patricia again and rekindle that relationship? It was probably worse than we thought, their relationship. And that's why I'm guessing and hoping was the only reason why Matthew Stafford said, no way do I want to go back to New England and rekindle that relationship with Matt Patricia.
So I got two quotes here from it. One, when you see the Patriot Way in the dictionary, it's going to have Tom Brady's name next to it. So they're talking about the Patriot Way. Mm-hmm. Goes on to say, none of those coaches threw any passes. None of those coaches caught any passes. None of those coaches made any tackles. They got guys in the right position because they watch a lot of film and they spend all their time at the facility. But Tom Brady is the Patriot Way. And that's the reason Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl right now and the Patriots are not.
Yeah.
So to me, when I read that, I read it as Tom Brady is the reason that this dynasty is a thing.
Right.
At least in Danny Amendola's mind.
For
Like, what do you think?
When Danny Amendola says, and that's why the Patriots are not, that's when he digs them in right there.
That's the dagger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like Marv said, for a player to come out of free agency, sometimes in any sport, players will give you a list of teams they prefer to play with, and maybe a list of teams that they prefer not to get traded to or play for. When you have a list of teams on one side that say, I'll play for any of these teams, but don't put me on that one team, it's very bad. It sounds bad, it looks bad, and everything above. It just wasn't a good look for the New England Patriots when Matt Stafford comes out and say, I'll play anywhere but New England. But while I agree with everything Marv said, and Amendola's comments, and the time they shared together in Detroit, I personally really believe it boils down to Matt Patricia. You guys have heard me say over and over and over again, I think Matt Patricia sucks. I've always thought he sucked. He wasn't good when he was in New England, other than the 1 year where they got a hyped up defense with Darrelle Revis and Browner, and that year they made it to the Super Bowl and beat the Seahawks. That season was great. Other than that, Patriots defenses under Matt Patricia have never been anything great. Remember, there was a lot of years that it was because Patriots had a pretty high-powered offense that they were getting by. Brady was putting up good stats. He had decent receivers, had solid connections, but the defense was never anything great. And they had this whole bend not break kind of mindset and whatnot.
The most frustrating defense to watch.
Very
bend don't break.
Don't break defense, all under Matt Patricia. So from his time in New England as a defensive coordinator, I thought he sucked. But the Patriots, within his time, had plenty of success, won Super Bowls. So he gets a job to head coach and goes to Detroit. And what happens during his time in Detroit? How long was he even in Detroit for? A year, 2 years?
I think 3 years.
It might have only been 2.
Either way, 2, 3, 1, it all sucked. Detroit Lions were never good under Matt Patricia. And then to come to find out, the New England Patriots rehire a guy that gets fired. And I agree with Marv. I probably think that Patricia and Stafford probably bumped heads a little bit during their time together. And who knows, maybe, ownership went to Matt Stafford, who's your franchise quarterback right now. Say, hey, we're thinking about maybe moving on from Matt Patricia. And he probably goes, yes, get him out of here. He gets fired. And then things maybe break down between Stafford and the organization. Stafford wants to move on. And then the New England Patriots come knocking, but Matt Patricia's over there, the guy that fired, that you probably didn't even want to play for anymore. He's over there, and then you're hearing all these other things about New England possibly. It makes sense. Stafford not wanting to play for or play with or be coached by Matt Patricia, who doesn't even have an official role with the team. They just brought him back. We don't even know what the hell he's doing in New England because he's clearly not the defensive coordinator, and they didn't really specify a role for him when they hired him back. He's just a part of the coaching staff again. Who knows what the hell he's doing? But either way, I think Matt Patricia is a big reason why Matt Stafford said, I'm all set on New England and trying to deal with the Patriot way and everything that possibly comes along with that. And on top of that, you want to put me back with Matt Patricia? Hell no. That's what Matt Stafford said. Hell no.
Yeah, so this headline here, I'm looking for some Matt Stafford information. Reads, Stafford was mentally and physically drained after Matt Patricia.
Yep.
And he said his last couple of years in Detroit, I think he was so mentally and physically drained. And I don't hold that against him because the last regime was really tough. And that was said by teammate TJ Lang. So with that, it sounds like Matt Patricia, it sounds like Matt Stafford wasn't a huge fan of Matt Patricia, which I think was pretty obvious. I think a lot of us, like, it's safe to assume that that is a major reason why he didn't want to come here, especially if Matt Patricia tried to take the Patriot way over to Detroit and it just didn't work there. And it was just showing to all the players, like, okay, this just doesn't work. Why would Matt Stafford then want to go to the Patriots where and I think this is the second reason, a big reason too, there's no weapons. Matt Stafford is 32 years old. He can't just sign a contract and assume that the Patriots are going to get him weapons. He can't do that. He has to, if he wanted to come over, not sign a contract, be traded. If he were to be traded here, he would then have to just hope that the Patriots get him somebody to throw to, because as of right now, his weapons are N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers, Julian Edelman, broken down Julian Edelman, who I wouldn't be surprised if he's in Tampa Bay next year. I wouldn't be shocked about that. I wouldn't be shocked about anything at this point. So, Matt, why would Matt Stafford want to come here? He's been with a losing organization since his entire career. He's 32 years old. He wants to win at least something. he at least just wants to play football, like play meaningful football, not just be with the Detroit Lions his entire career. And you look at the Rams, and the Rams are a team that is very competitive. A team that, with Matt Stafford on it this year, might have actually made more noise. Jared Goff, I just don't think is that good. I don't think he's a very good quarterback. So I think it's right there. It boils down to those two things. Matt Patricia did not want to come over to this Patriot way and have Matt Patricia, his former head coach, here, where it obviously didn't work. By the way, Matt Patricia was finishing his third year before he got fired in Detroit. And on top of that, when he comes here, he's not going to have any weapons. So why would he want to come here? This offense looked putrid this past season. Why would he want to come here? It just didn't make any sense for him. So I get it. If I'm Matt Stafford, I say, yeah, you know what, trade me anywhere. Just don't trade me to New England. They are a dumpster fire right now.